We are often asked how we find our investigations. We look for stories, issues, and concerns that spark debate and prompt change. This is Wkyt Investigates.
Bart and I try each week to tell the stories that are most affecting the people of Kentucky. And right now, unfortunately, that seems to be the drug epidemic.
And the problem is just to the point to where everyone's impacted by it.
In fact, it's taken us to tell stories at some of the biggest homes in the state, down to homeless people on the street.
You find out real quick how hard addictions hit this state.
And there are people out there that really want to help them, but will they take that help?
If they meet someone at risk, they can't go, well, I don't know. They actually have all this stuff out there.
They are here for the first time together.
The police department's thought process now is we're doing it wrong.
Counselors, rehab specialists, and community outreach have come to the table to figure out how to fix an underground danger that's happening in broad daylight.
Putting a prostitute in jail for 3 days and she gets a $200 fine, that just means she has to turn 3 more tricks or spend 2 days in jail to pay her fine.
We spent several days with Lexington Police Detective Rick Lynn trying to understand the problem.
It's just hard to measure, you know?
One afternoon, he took us to 7th Street, a popular area for prostitutes. We immediately met 2 women. Detective Lynn has known them for years.
Yeah, I used to be the big thing out here. I'm not gonna lie. Ricky Lynn's got me a couple times.
But his goal these days isn't to lock them up. It's to set them free. 90% of prostitutes he sees are also drug addicts.
We're not going to target women who are involved in prostitution. We're going to treat them more as a victim and try to get them help.
To put the problem in perspective, this woman is 26.
When did it start for you?
I was 19 when I started hanging out around on the streets, using drugs, and then to fuel my addiction, I started prostitution, and that just, from there, it really went downhill.
And here's the proof. 7 years of marks and scars, reminders how far she's fallen.
And once you use a spot for so long, it pretty much die, like your vein dies, is what I call it. And you have to move to another spot, yeah.
She doesn't have a home, not even a packed bag. She lasts just a few hours before she needs more money for more heroin.
How does it work? You just keep saying like $20. Is that typically what you get?
Depends on pretty much what you do. You can make more, but the least you'll make is $20.
How much does heroin cost?
The least you can usually get is $20.
Detective Lynn stood back and listened to our interview.
When's the last time you had heroin?
Probably about 10 minutes before y'all pulled up.
Stories like hers are the reason he says the game plan has to change.
Our focus is on the Johns and on the pimps. If you take the money out of that whole equation, the only thing the girl's going to have is to go get help.
Do you feel a shift in the relationship that you have with police these days?
Oh yeah, definitely. From used to be I'd fear them.
She also has learned to trust the people who run this place, Natalie's Sisters, just down from the same part of town prostitutes tend to roam.
You know, every week we see more and more ladies coming in.
Natalie's Sisters is a first touch ministry to get the prostitutes help when they're ready.
And that's what we're here for, is to help them see that they are worthy and to be ready to make that change.
Until then,
they don't have these things.
They take bags of food and essentials to the women on the street. They partner with police. The woman we met on the street told us she was ready to go to Natalie's Sisters the next day.
I'm holding you to that tomorrow. Okay?
Yeah.
All right.
Well, you better drive by and make sure she's there.
We were at Natalie's Sisters the next day.
You have seen her before she has come in. She said she would come in today to us.
We hear that a lot when we're out on the street. We'll see you tomorrow, or we'll be in next week. And we take that with a grain of salt, because sometimes they will be and sometimes they won't.
They know that when she is ready, this place will be here. The success of Natalie's sisters is impressive. So far, they've helped 200 girls find a different life. Each color on this wall represents one of the rescued.
Most of the girls don't want to be out here. Most of the girls want to get off the street. They don't know how, or the drugs are to a point where they're just lost.
A Kentucky sheriff teaching his son the ropes, but did he go too far?
I mean, this is ridiculous. Sir, cut the camera off, please.
The kid sheriff coming up.
So this was like take your child to work day to an extreme. Turns out the Clinton County Sheriff is taking his 10-year-old son to work on a regular basis.
When we first got wind of this story, we saw a picture, and basically the kid was wearing an entire police uniform.
But we found out he's not just shadowing his dad, he's actually serving warrants.
When we went to pick up the police paperwork for this story, what we found out was the kid's signature was actually on the jail intake form.
Now, the sheriff says this is no big deal. I would never put my son in harm's way. But is it too much?
What y'all filming Mr. Guffey for?
That's Sheriff Jim Guffey, and this was the end of our interview. Sheriff Guffey is the top police officer of Clinton County, population just over 10,000. The courthouse sits in the middle of Albany, a typical small Kentucky town where lunch breaks are common.
Hi, how are you?
And visits from reporters aren't.
This piece of paper is what brought us here. This is the Clinton County Jail admission and release form. Check out the signature at the bottom, though, of the arresting or transporting officer. This isn't the sheriff or his deputies. This is a 10-year-old. We had some concerns from some people in your county about this.
Okay.
Who is that?
That's my son.
That's your son?
Yeah.
And so is he a deputy or?
No, he's not a deputy.
We were emailed this form showing Sheriff Guffey's son's signature on an official jail document. We were also emailed this picture, who Sheriff Guffey confirms is his son.
Is this your son?
Yes, it is.
And so you had him dress up like he is a sheriff's deputy?
Ma'am, that's kids' clothes. There's nothing real on his person.
What time was it?
Oh, it was about 8:30, 9 o'clock in the morning.
LaDonna Kempton was one of the women arrested on March 5th by Sheriff Guffey with his son in tow.
He was dressed just like a deputy. Had a taser, had a badge.
Had a taser?
Yes.
You're sure?
Yeah. Showed it to me. Sure did. Yeah. On his side, just like the sheriff did.
We interviewed Kempton in the Russell County Detention Center, where she is awaiting trial for her charges out of Clinton County.
What are your charges? What are you facing?
I'm facing, it could be 5 years or more. I don't know exactly how long.
All drug charges, a felony, and 2 misdemeanors were the warrants she was served on March 5th. She says the sheriff's son was with his dad the entire time but didn't participate in the arrest until they got to the jail, and the sheriff's son took over for signing her in.
Did you see his son sign it?
Yeah, I witnessed his son sign it. They all just thought it was funny, like it was a big trick for this kid to be doing this.
This is a copy of another intake form that we were emailed from the same day as Kempton's arrest. We followed up by asking the jail for the same copy. The one they faxed us, though, is different. It's got transported by Sheriff Guffey added to the side. This is Clinton County Jailer Johnny Thrasher.
This was the original, and then this one says, when it was faxed to me, it says transported by Jim Guffey.
I don't know anything about that either. We'll need to change it.
He says he wasn't there the day Guffey's son came in.
If you were here, would you let his son sign an intake form?
If I'd have been here, it probably wouldn't have happened. But I wasn't here.
The jailer says it's not routine. In fact, he's never seen the sheriff's son in the jail. The sheriff says after our initial calls, he checked with the county judge and other county officials who told him there's nothing wrong with what he did. None of them returned our calls.
I haven't done nothing criminal. I have not put my child in harm's way. So if you're this desperate for a story for your television station, then so be it.
But you had him sign an official document, an intake form at the jail.
A lot of times they don't get signed by officers.
So that makes it okay that your 9-year-old son did it?
So you're wanting to degrade me by doing this? Then go ahead.
It's not degrading. I'm just asking the question of why you would allow him to do it.
I just told you. I don't put my son in harm's way.
You know, somebody needs to know that they've got this 9-year-old kid serving indictment.
This is taking it to another level. I'm done, okay?
Okay. Well, I appreciate you talking to us.
I mean, this is ridiculous. Sir, cut the camera off, please.
And with that, he walked out.
What y'all filming Mr. Guppy for?
Dad protecting his son. His job, though, to protect the county.
Release! Everybody needs to be spot checked.
Danger passing us by. Money out the window. Wkyt investigates closed way stations. After the break.
No matter where you are in this country, infrastructure is an issue. In states, they just don't seem to have enough money to adequately maintain roads and bridges.
We found out that Kentucky is actually losing millions of dollars a year that could be going to repair roads and bridges because way stations are only open 29% of the time. Turns out this isn't just a money issue, it's actually a public safety concern.
The reason this way station is here is written all over the walls. Reminders for the vehicle enforcement inspectors that work here.
High beam headlights.
He's required to do so many of these thorough truck inspections during his shift.
These lines here, that's his main air supply for this trailer.
There aren't many like him in the state right now.
Release!
At least compared to the need.
The wrong person behind the wheel, or you get a truck that's not mechanically sound, it's dangerous.
His way station, the southbound London Scales, had 40,000 trucks roll past in September. Want to know how many he and his fellow inspectors were able to check of those 40,000? Just 250.
So that's a lot of trucks that we're missing.
Because you miss what you can't see. Currently, way stations in Kentucky are only open 29% of the time in a 24/7 trucking industry.
Right now, because of the manpower issues, we have so few inspectors at each installation that we're only able to keep them open so much time out of the 24-hour day.
The time open averages out to be about 14 days out of the month that a truck might get checked.
They need to be open. The scale houses need to be open.
Gary Thornberry drives his truck through Kentucky 3 times a week.
Everybody needs to be spot checked. You know, everybody needs to be spot checked. It's that simple. That's the only way you're going to weed out the bad drivers.
He's been trucking for 30 years. He's noticed the scales he passes in Kentucky aren't usually open, but didn't realize it was this bad.
It really surprised me that you said only 29% of the time. What's the purpose of having them if you're not going to have them open?
That's a question.
And it's something that we're attacking head on.
We took to Commissioner John Mark Hack with the Department of Transportation.
The number of commercial vehicle enforcement officers are at historically low levels.
And that, Commissioner Hack says, causes a ripple effect. The scales are closed more, public safety is at risk, and money for Kentucky is left in the dust.
It's safe to say that it's in the millions of dollars on an annual basis, and it's certainly sufficient enough for us to take a really hard look at the hours of operation.
If the way stations are closed, the state isn't collecting fines and taxes from non-compliant trucks.
The taxes that they pay go directly into the construction and maintenance of roads and bridges.
That's if they pay their taxes. The ones that don't, we're told, do their best to avoid way stations. If they're open, they just go around them.
That creates additional public safety risks.
We caught one spot check by vehicle enforcement on I-75 while we were working on this story. The truck driver was arrested, but enforcement admits there aren't enough of them, and so many get by on back roads.
They pattern us. They know when we're out, they know when the scale facilities are open, and so they know when that they can bypass.
You drive a truck, you're supposed to be safe. You're supposed to get from point A to point B the best, safest, quickest way you can. If you're going around them, you're hiding something.
Technology is trying to compensate for the manpower loss. This system, called the Kentucky Automated Truck Screening System, scans all the needed numbers when a truck comes through the way station. but it misreads a lot. And many times inspectors have to manually punch in the correct numbers. We watched multiple trucks get flagged by the computer, but not checked by officers while we were there.
Because you don't have enough staff that he's just getting by, right?
Yes, because we only have a few inspectors here at this location, we're unable to make sure that we're catching all of these. And since we've been here, we've had another one that has come by.
Just pump it down until your detection brake pops in.
The state is working to hire more vehicle enforcement inspectors to start building solutions to a public safety concern and money flying out the window.
You know, my family drives the interstate, your family drives the interstate, and that's what we're out here doing, is trying to keep the road safe.
A warning on a water bill. The water too dangerous to drink.
This is an issue that's occurring across Kentucky.
Wkyt Investigates returns.
How would you feel if you got your water bill and on the back in very small print it said your water might be too dangerous to drink? That's exactly what happened to a community in Boyle County.
We went there to actually find out and speak to neighbors about the issue, but what we discovered was that most people hadn't even noticed the violation on the back of the bill. They just didn't see it.
Right. And so once we found out more about that chemical, we also found out that that dangerous chemical might be in your water too.
It doesn't take long to find a pool in this small slice of Boyle County country called Parksville. And it doesn't take long to find somebody ready to get in one.
I'm hot right now, so I might go get my swimsuit on.
Kelly Isaac says her kids spend about an hour in the pool every day.
Okay.
They're outside a lot in the summer, if not the pool.
Well, I come out and water in the morning, but that's before the bright sun, and I probably spend about an hour and a half. Zucchini, squash, artichoke. Have you ever had an artichoke?
The Isaacs have been here for 3 years. They've got to know the people that supply their water.
They're really wonderful people, yeah. I love them.
That was the consensus. As we talked to Parksville neighbors, the source of the confusion was this, a typed alert on the front of the water bill. Some didn't see it at all. Terry Lynn Wiemiller doesn't skip the details when it comes to his pool.
It's a solar cover to heat your pool up.
But this bill is a different story.
We normally don't pay attention to things like that. We just get it, go pay it.
Others, like the Isaacs, noticed it, but didn't really understand it.
Yeah, it didn't worry me that much at all. No, I thought that it would be a problem for the month and that they'd clear it up and it'd be fixed.
Not exactly. These notices started back in January. The latest was last month.
I mean, I didn't really know until you brought it to my attention today, so yeah, I'm concerned.
The back of the water bill says that the Parksville Water District violated a drinking water standard, too much haloacidic acid. It warns that elderly, people with infants, and pregnant women should talk to a doctor about drinking the water.
The basins we are standing on are all new.
This is Danville City Engineer Earl Coffey. He's in charge of the Danville Water Plant, which supplies water to Parksville and several other districts.
To see that something like that on a bill can be startling for people.
Correct. And most folks don't really understand the dynamics of the drinking water regulation and how that's changed.
The plant is spending $24 million to get this going in the right direction. He says the construction is what caused the spike in haloacidic acid.
Are you saying that this level is not a big deal?
No, any regulation, we consider it a big deal. Any water quality standard we take very seriously, and including this one.
Haloacidic acid is a disinfectant byproduct. Large amounts over many years can cause an increased risk of cancer.
This is an issue that's occurring across Kentucky.
And Peter Goodman's department is the one in charge of enforcing the rule. The state sent Danville and its purchasers notices of violations. After 3, they'll be sent on to enforcement.
The chronic risk from disinfection byproducts for getting cancer are very, very low. But that said, there's a rule for a reason.
This high level of disinfectant byproduct actually isn't uncommon. 70 right now of the 409 public water systems in the state are in violation for the same reason.
So our goal isn't to collect a lot of penalty. Our goal is to get in compliance.
Danville's haloacidic acid levels are now well below the threshold, but the state requires a 4-quarter average, which right now still brings them down.
You almost have to get all the way through a calendar year to literally replace a number if it's out of skew that bad, right? You would have to almost.
Is that bad out of skew?
The data point that caused our violation was high, yes.
But Coffee assures they are moving in the right direction to be compliant again. And families like the Isaacs will wade carefully now through their water bill.
Thank you for joining us for this edition of Wkyt Investigates. We've got a lot of great investigations coming up in 2017. We hope you'll join us for those. In the meantime, we hope you have a great new year.
Happy New Year.